Good morning. Happy Friday. All right. Right. So yesterday we got pretty much what was anticipated until the end of the day, which was pretty much go nowhere, a grind, and then the end of the quarter kicked in and some little profit taking. So no biggie initially here, but we do got a pretty big red bar at the end of the day here on the S&Ps. And so it's the biggest, as you can see, the biggest red bar on the way up. And is it the start of something, or just a pause at the end of the quarter and reverses back up again? Well, things are up here a little bit. We'll see what it looks like in relation to the red bar. That's the process. So unless this immediately reverses itself, right, which we'll see at the end of the day, charts. I was doing good with that for a while. There we go. There you go. Unless that immediately reverses itself and get a 180 reversal, right? So, meaning it hangs down here. We go through our process of saying, okay, it stays. It's not a giant red bar, but it's bigger than what we've seen recently. Similar to over here. It's not, this was going up. It's still trending up in this part of the move, whereas this made a retest pattern and it broke below the pivot low. Simple. Starts its way down. So now, unless this bar was just, hey, the end of the quarter, yada, yada, and it reverses itself immediately, and this resumes, we see continued weakness. Then it's okay, does it stay in the lower half? Does it stabilize? And then what we would look for is one of two things. Well, while this isn't a pivot because it doesn't have three higher lows to the left, it is a significant low because it did move lower and then it gapped up. And this is, I explained in a prior pre-market how this is a continuation pattern. And you can see my cursor, as I move it left to right, you can see it's the pivot on the hourly time frame. And there's a little cluster of pivots right there. So it's a significant reference point short term for prices to hold around this area on a pullback. That being said, it would be a relatively deep pullback in relation to what's going on here. Remember yesterday or day before yesterday was talking about, okay, this gap up, could it be the top of the move? We won't know until after the fact, of course, or the start of the top of the move. But if it can hold here, like this initially did, maybe we get a measured move and it comes up into this high. That's now in question because of this bar. That's what bar by bar analysis is supposed to do, is I have a bias based on previous price pattern. And does it fail or not? Does it continue up to what my bias is? Or do I get new information that says, hey, reevaluate that? And this bar says reevaluate that. So how I reevaluate that now is, first of all, does it stay initially in the lower 50%? Does it move lower to here, which would be a deep retracement just based on this continuation pattern? And then once it starts to turn up again, which I suspect it will because of this move up, do we get a pattern, something similar? They're never the same, but do we get a pattern, something similar to this, meaning a retest and failure pattern, where it's got three lower highs here at the end of today, whatever, unless this goes like this is going to be marked as a pivot on Monday. And so we'll have a pivot high, and we recognize that as a new area of resistance has been created that wasn't there before. Right? There was nothing here. So then we get a pivot high, resistance created, and let's clean this up. Then at that point, let's say wherever this turns up, do we get a retest pattern, which could make a higher high? Right? If you go back and look at the videos, that's what we talked about here. And I think the Dow made a higher high and then rolled over. Do we get a higher high? Do we get an equal high? So, looking out into next week or so, that's what we'll be looking for. Do we get a retest and failure pattern, whether it makes a higher high or an equal high, or does it set up this and just keep going up? Right. So that's the unknown. Right. We'll see how things set up. So one of the ways, right, that we kind of look at the possibilities of this is what we call our techno fundamentals, our three-legged stool, and that's our market internals. So we see the internals got to an extreme over this. When it got here, right over here, you can see the cursor. I said that's bullish. Right? And I thought, oh, maybe it'll pull back to zero. It didn't. It only came to 100, and we see it pop back up again. So as this corrects, right, this may chop around up at the upper end here, which would be bullish. However, remember we talked about sentiment. It never got into the lower band or hit this area. And so the idea is, well, there's still some gas in the tank because these internals weren't aligned together to give us a sell signal. So we'll see how this pulls back, and then we'll see as it does turn back up again, where is it? What happens with our internals? So if we were to get that even a higher high, these are giving us a sell. That's going to provide us a bias that, hey, this thing's now going to have a larger correction, whereas this could just be a small price correction pullback or a time correction sideways. In any event, this is the beginning of some type of a correction. We'll see how far it's going to go. The other things that we could look at would be, and I can do that quickly for a second here, and we'll come back to this. I don't want to take too much time, is looking at a whole bunch of other markets, sectors, and looking at them and saying, hey, did anything get really whacked that could really have a large effect? And what we see in part is, well, financials that popped above here came down below that reference point as you compare to, the S&Ps over here. Or I don't think I have the Qs on here. Anyway, you see what I'm talking about, this turning point that was the continuation pattern. Financials came down. So just looking at a whole bunch of other information into market analysis can give us some ideas. And as I look across this, I say, okay, there's some type of correction going on here everywhere, but to what degree is it really serious? And overall, what we see is it's not that serious yet, which kind of leads back into pullback, retest of some kind, and so on. All right. Question. Hey, Dan. All right, Rob. Maybe that was, Rob, are you talking about Dan's coaching session? If that's the case, email Dan and I, or support at Master Trader if you're talking about the coaching session, because I don't know why you wouldn't have gotten it, but, or if you're talking about the webinar he did, that's up to where he did it. So I don't know if they recorded or not. McGraw's telling me a lot of SPX buy Qs put open interest in the money expire today will make interesting trading if people close as profitable and when they roll them. So there's a lot of put open interest, what McGraw is saying, that are in the money, out of the money, in the money, right? Which means they're around here, which means if this continues to go lower, can that potentially drive prices down? I could just look at SPX, which we can get to. Let me look at the futures. You see nothing much is going on here. With that bar and things kind of came lower. I guess that was the jobs report that just came out. I guess it wasn't seen as being too positive. But anyway, after yesterday, this was nothing more than a bear flag that was happening here. And so SPX, and we'll see how premiums will have changed here from what I had written down, which was looking at levels up above here and down here. And this one, since this is going down, may be more dangerous now. So if people sell them, we get a bounce. And if it goes lower, then 25 becomes more dollar, more short. Market maker short more. Yeah. So what 45.25, well, right there. So that's kind of dangerous, meaning, yeah, that could easily, and just looking at the pattern, could easily drive it down here. So let me just see how things changed here for a second. 30, 45.20. To that, 40. Wow. Oh, that's what I got, 44.80. 44.80, 65 by 80. And that might not be so easy. If things are heading lower, the thing to look for is if those premiums increase, then looking for something below 45, 44.50. If that winds up having some premium, which it does not right now. But let's see if the market sells off. That's possibly. So I had, I'm always looking for the safest, but this is probably evaporated now. Yeah, 45s. So 4,600. No, 4,600 is a buck. That's big. 45.50. 45.50. Oh, we'll open at 45.50. All right. Well, I don't know that that's very significant. It's not a big gap up. 46.10, 46.10-ish, I think would be okay. It's 50 cents by 65 cents right now, but that could evaporate pretty darn quick. But I suspect that it's not getting above yesterday's high today. So see, we're pretty close to comparing going back, a couple of weeks ago where it was like no brainer stuff. It was absolutely no brainer. 44.70, 40 cents by 50 cents, 44.70. I don't, you know what, McGraw, one of the things that I look at, well, there's support down here, but I consider, like, what's the average range? And I see yesterday's range and think, hey, is that about the same range, or would it be a lot further away than that range? And it's not, it's maybe a little less. So I'm skeptical of it, you know. Especially, what you're saying about those open interest in puts, and if it starts inching down and market makers start selling more futures, and that means this goes down. But it is a support point. I don't know. You're McGraw. I think you have to be a little more. You'd maybe do that a little more aggressive, but things are relatively tight there. All right, on Tuesday. Yeah. Oh, so Rob, that was Dan's webinar that he did for Traders Corner. I think he said they don't record them, but we'll do something on MT Live. Yeah. There you go. McGraw says, even I'm hesitant. That means sit on your hands. All right. Qs, pop down here, 362, not a big open here of any significance. So I think, an SOH situation is warranted, for a little while here. Call spreads, that's what zero DTE call spreads on different stocks above resistance, maybe even above yesterday's high. We'll take a look at that. Dan's probably looking already, but that would be something for today. Zero DTE. It's Friday, stocks, options expiration. That's what should be probably the flavor of the day, other than some stocks or maybe futures that might be trending one way or the other. We shall see. But you got, significant support here on the futures, down here, and you can see the little flag that's going on. And there's nothing more than, hey, here's your flagpole. Here's your flag. It's making higher lows and higher highs, but it's grinding its way up toward some place where a seller should want to be more aggressive. And, there's maybe the start of it there. All right, let me keep going. YM, same story, big red bar. And this was the little nasty failure of the breakout, right? And now it's under the wide range bar. Not a good sign. Got plenty of support here. So, which leads to now we've got resistance here We've got significant support. And the more I look at, the more it's like, be nimble or go to the beach. Bitcoin, coming off, did not get all the way to the top of the range there, but close, and it's pulling back. Oil, I think, is setting up a bigger pattern here. Beach is not overrated. All right, so we're getting some support area, I believe, that is beginning to build. And we don't like to have red down there. You see, they stepped up here. It's lower, and it is an appropriate pattern for something that comes down at an angle of descent like that. Right? So you go back and look at the old videos. This was our bias. Buyers show up here. We didn't think it would get up here. We're looking for some kind of retest. So I guess this was a little bit too early, and this could lead into next week, rolling up. We'll see. Silver, pretty much a mess. Buyers down here, but it's nothing to do anything with. Gold, a little better. You see two bottoming tail bars. It's caught between support and resistance. Maybe next week. Then transports, breakout failure. So we got bearish stuff, short term going on against this bullish move up, and we'll see how it plays out. That's the story here today. Interest rates pulling back a bit. We've got inverted yield curves. We've been talking about that. You can see it here. You can see it here. Right? This one finally went under. This one is still up there. And, that's the weird thing that's going on. Historically, it doesn't work that way. So we've got this divergence between these different curves. Anyway, we got enough reasons to be skeptical. You've got a little bit of information here to say, hey, some type of corrective price action could lead to another move up. And then we'll see if it double tops next week, type of an M top. And so today we go into thinking, be nimble, catch up on some other things, whatever. But it doesn't look like any kind of a big day ahead, but we shall see. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Happy 0DTE day. Greg, into the close yesterday, I was almost thinking, we had that huge end of day decline, and we saw it all the time in the old days, that our mindset is depending on how many down days there were in the broader market, that we would get a gap up in the morning. Either a gap up or an exhaustion gap down. So, we're getting gap up. We had the employment numbers pulled off a little bit from that. And like you said, we'll be nimble. But 0DTE day, as always, we'll look for candidates. I'm looking at the usual suspects right now, the FANGs, and actually Tesla in 15. Is see, that's not a good daily at all. That's extended and momentum stalled, topping tail, engulfing bar. So I don't know. Even 0DTEs are going to be tough today. But yeah. So maybe call spreads on these things. Sure, McGraw. We'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at anything. All right, our opens are okay. Actually, I had an up alarm on FSR go off. We entered this. Nice breakout of a bottoming pattern, bullish weekly. So I noticed Chinese stocks are up, and I'm seeing a number of EV stocks up too. So let's pay attention to those. The Chinese stocks, the newspaper said China's going to allow, I guess, the SEC to have access to their financials now, whereas that's been a big point of contention in the past that you know, there's always a trust factor with China, and we're gonna list your public companies, but we have absolutely no idea what's under the hood because, you know, no financials. All right, this is a little bank. Nice gap. We'll come back to you. VIPS was gapping over yesterday's high. It's coming in a little bit now. We'll come back to you. IIPR. This is one of the pot marijuana, the REIT ETF, and that's actually a beautiful bottoming pattern. Let's DRQ. But now it's gapping down 193. It's a bearish gap for some reason. It'll be a call spread that's usually juicy. Greg's DRQ from yesterday. That's a long over yesterday's high. And remember, in the green room, I said, hey, just point out the most bullish setup you can. And so I actually made a chart lesson of it this morning. I put it on Facebook and also sent it to our advisory letters. But what an amazing 1, 2, 3 down here with all these converging MAs. But this is now a gap reversal closing breakout. Not as bullish as this, because this one's igniting, whereas this one's, you know, look at the angles of the MAs first down here. This one and price void, but we're swing traders. So that's over the high, it's a swing trade. Starbucks had a little gap breakout there. You know, let's watch this on a pullback for a put spread. Here's, you know, a bunch of these Chinese stocks, $44. Mark it off, gapping right to resistance, so I have no interest. Just looked at that. Oh, these some of the Vegas hotels. This was up but down, but no pattern. For what, Joe? What are you thinking? All right, there's just no pattern here. Gapping up a little bit, LBS. There's nothing there. I didn't place one single trade yesterday. There were a couple day trade scalp setups, of course, but not a single swing trade. Gapping up to yesterday's high, but still nothing there. But we'll come back to you. Wow, it's an ugly gap down. This actually was a potential bottoming pattern. 90% retracement going sideways. If it were to gap to $24, then that would be a fantastic 5-minute long gap trade. But it had earnings and it's gapping down, and it's gapping too much for me. Let's see, Delta 20, Workhorse, Max. And Workhorse. It's been a strong sector. You know, this had the igniting bar here on Tuesday. If you're talking about an out of the money put spread, sure. Max and EW. Max looks like it has light volume. It's spotty. It is breaking out. It's bottoming pattern breaking out on the weekly. I like. It's up 3 bars though. It's a watch, but I need a better entry. Echo Whiskey. I'm not sure what you're thinking. It's up 6 bars with a topping tail. You need a pullback, but that would be a nice trade if it came back. If it retraced for 3 days and gave you a reversal on this minor support, then that'd be great. But right now, there's no logical entry. Blind looks horrible. This is remember we just did a MT live on Wednesday on triangles. Here's a descending triangle, right? Look, lower highs, closing breakdown. That was a beautiful short setup. Now I know I think it had earnings, which is helping the gap down, but that's a bearish descending triangle. BlackBerry, $7. Price boy, that actually looks lower for a day trade. NCNO, gapping up a little bit here, but what a total mess. I mean, look at this, folks, declining 2050, breakout failure. Look at all these football players. This actually, McGraw, that's a call spread candidate. Gapping up $8, but no pattern. CSSE gapping to 960. All right, I have this one on the bottom right. So this is, if the gap holds, it's a pro gap. Okay, now it's 10. See that's a professional gap. It's in a nasty downtrend, 3 red bars on volume, and now it's gapping way the heck up here. Now, even though percentage wise, it's 2 divided by 8 is 25%. To me, it's a visual thing. So if we can take out the 30-minute high, I think it can go to $12 because of the pro gap nature. So that's the best looking thing I've seen so far. Remember we were looking at wanting to short a call spread, and then I said yesterday, I said, wow, it turned into a buy setup. Now it's gapping at 189. This is another one of these jokes to me. It's mind boggling how heard just, I know idiots is a harsh term, but all they're doing is saying they're going to do a stock split. And so yeah, would you want to gap up $30 because we're doing a stock split? Absolutely mind-boggling to me. The idiocracy. So I'm going to put that in a window. I'll still consider a call spread, 30-minute low. Jacopo RDW. Yeah, but it's still far from the 20. That's right at the 200. Wait, this shows it gapping down though. Yeah. This is gapping down. I was looking at the daily here and it's not registering. It's not. Oh yeah, see, it's there. Finally, it's registering down here. Look. That's so. Yeah, 5-minute low, maybe day trade. All right, so our FSR, maybe 30-minute high you can add. Here's a couple of these Chinese stocks. Absolutely no pattern there. Billy, Baba at least is over a red bar, 30-minute high put spread. KWeb, no patterns, range bound, but a bullish gap. FXI is all of China. That's actually stronger than the others. Why? Because it's gapping to the top of the range. And a bullish 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. So that 30-minute high maybe. Billy, no pattern. IQ, no pattern. LI, a couple EV stocks, no pattern. XPEV. There you go, XPEV. 30-minute high, I like that. I like the XPEV. I'm gonna go ahead and post it now. I just 30-minute high, stop yesterday's low. Just because 30-minute high is just such a great little rule. You know, I know we use it in terms of disaster entries, but we also use them for entering like this. Like it's a bullish thing. Let's just chill, see what the darn thing does for 30 minutes. And we can adjust our bias. But if it can bobble around and take out 30-minute high, I like it. XPEV by 30-minute high, stop Yesterday's low. And that's just a start, you know, I can adjust it. Yeah, that stupid thing stopped us out yesterday under this bar, but yeah, you know, I don't like this top that it's retracing from. It's not a V top, but the weekly still looks fantastic. So you know what? I'll keep it on the list. GDS. So Janet, you're our EV expert. So if you can, here's our DRQ. It's good to go over the high, which is what? 3782. Well, IWM ripping here in 5 minutes.